Welcome to a special semi-throwback episode of Bleav in Falcons. I'm your host, Ovie Mughelli, and as always, not as always, we have a blast from the past, Will McFadden, the one who actually started the Bleav in Falcons podcast and was so gracious to allow me to join it. And then he went on to bigger and better things with our Falcons, like he really believed in the Falcons, or the Falcons believed in him and grabbed him. And then I got Michael Turner, who I guess is still hanging out in Vegas after announcing the pick for the Falcons, is having a good time. But we're going to have him on to talk about his moment on the stage, because we're talking about our last podcast. He didn't get to go to New York or get to go to Vegas or whatever. He wasn't invited to the draft. I wasn't invited to the draft. He was a 5th round pick. I was a 4th round pick. Neither of us really had a chance to experience that. But he did get a chance to experience that this past weekend when he was announcing the Falcons pick. So it was pretty cool. But Will, man, welcome back to the show, your show. Thanks for coming on. How you been?
I've been really well, Ovie, but it is not my show, dude. You went on to way bigger and better things, my man. Like, you got Michael Turner. That is a Falcons fan's dream, to have Ovie and Michael Turner talking football. So I was happy to get out of the way to let that happen. As many people have gotten out of your way and Mike's way in the past. So no, you guys have been doing great, man, and I'm really excited to be back on with you and had a little draft.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting conversation to have with the draft. Falcons got some high ratings, high rankings on the draft. The first one, the biggest one, the one everyone's been talking about, and we're a little bit late to, but still, it deserves talking. The first pick, second round, not first round, but the first pick for the Falcons in the second round was Avieon Terrell, AJ Terrell's brother. I saw that and I was excited. I thought it was so unique, such a cool opportunity. And then I had the people that were reaching out to me saying, is he the biggest need and the best pick for the Falcons? Or did we just want to create a very cool moment? Because you can't tell me that AJ Terrell was like, hey, if my brother's available, if it's even close, you get my brother to this team, because I would be saying that. Anybody would have been saying that. But is he the biggest need and the best pick for the Falcons?
I mean, I would say yeah to both. Like, I think the biggest need part, you could certainly, I think, go in a lot of different directions on that. And we were in the lead up to the draft, right? I felt pretty strongly that linebacker wasn't the biggest need, but maybe that was the position they would go with, purely because of the players who were going to be there and kind of like right where I expected those guys to fall. I thought the value would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But defensive tackle was another one that a ton of people were kind of circling. Wide receiver, the corner was certainly in that mix, and I think they were all pretty equal. You could make a strong argument for any of those positions. And then when it comes to Avieon Terrell, just the prospect, like, I don't think he expected to be there. I don't think Ian Cunningham expected him to be there.
Yeah.
I didn't expect him to be there. So from a talent perspective, absolutely. I think it was one of the best value picks in the draft, just because of really how polished Avieon Terrell already is. I know a lot has been made of his 40-yard dash time.
Yeah.
But I Bleav he was banged up, or recovering from a hamstring injury when he ran that time. So, I'd be curious to kind of see what it would look like at full speed. But the way that he plays the game, I think it's a little bit, we've seen AJ. He's so fluid and smooth and does a lot of things that are really hard and makes him look easy. So you sometimes don't even know how hard he's having to work to do those things. I see a lot of that in Avieon as well.
No, it's great. Again, Bleav in Falcons is presented by FanDuel. Can't forget our FanDuel friends. I think an interesting FanDuel stat to look at before the draft, Falcons making the playoffs is a plus 194, meaning that you put $10 on a bet, it pays you $29.40. Also, the win total was at 7.5, and everyone's betting on the under because they didn't have much, hope in the Falcons to make something happen because of our, dicey quarterback position, because the lack of a first-round draft pick and the James Pierce stuff that has recently had some changes that we'll go into later. But with all these draft picks, I don't know. People might have to change their the way they look at the Falcons and betting for us making the playoffs and us having at least 7.5 wins. That's just sad to think that we'd have another season where we had 7 wins or 6 wins. I can't do it. But the next guy that we drafted hopefully will help us. I like the Avieon Terrell pick because I do feel like when you have your family, your blood, your brother on the team, you're going to push him. He'll push you. There's not going to be the rookie wall or some of the rookie mistakes. Like AJ will make sure anywhere he went, his brother would call him and encourage him, motivate him, give him like, the what's what. But if he's right there and you play your position, you're in the same meeting room, I just feel like, you always want your player, your rookie to have a mentor. Having a mentor as your big brother, there's such and that's why I'd say great pick if it was in your realm of doing so and they made it so. He's going to elevate his brother so much faster than most rookies will be elevated because it's the same type of sibling rivalry that worked in the iron sharpens iron type of formation. So I think that's a great pick. But the next pick they got Zachariah Branch, the one that our fearless co-host Michael Turner announced. That's one that I'm super excited about. I think will change the way people look at the Falcons. Hopefully get us past that 7.5. Drake London is fantastic. I think Johan Dotson is another receiver we got. Is it Johan or Jahan?
It's Jahan.
Jahan. There you go. Jahan Dotson. You work for the Falcons. You should know this. Thank you. Jahan Dotson. Great. But I feel like we still need more. And we have Olamide Zaccheaus too, right? We brought him in.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, love Olamide Zaccheaus. I feel like we still need more. There were times last year when it was the Drake London show when Drake was hurt. It was the show of somebody please show up. And now with Zachariah Branch being so dynamic, having such an explosive ability, and being a instant special teams contributor where every person we choose, we have to be thinking special teams because we have no room to not think about special teams. We lost games because of special teams or lack thereof. And though I think, the coordinator had a lot to do with that, some of our talent and the way we coach these guys up it wasn't there. And so having some guys, some dogs, like literally UGA dogs that can go out there and throw their body on the line, that will help us so much on the third part of the game that people don't really think about. So what are your thoughts about Zachariah Branch?
I mean, everything that you just said is absolutely true. I mean, 4.35 speed, the way that Georgia used him got talked about a lot of short, quick passes. But honestly, like they could do that because of how good he was after the catch. Like he was a punt returner every single time he got his hands on the ball and just diced through defenses and had 811 yards, 6 touchdowns. Like that's crazy. But I'll tell you what, Ovie, the number one thing that has stuck out to me since they've drafted Zachariah Branch is, and you said it, he is a dog. Like he is so mature. He reminds me a lot of Jalen Walker in just like the way that he understood going from USC to Georgia, how he could use that year as an opportunity to really kind of challenge himself in one of the best cultures in college football and one of the best cultures to prepare you for life in the NFL. So, I mean, he was talking to us right after he got picked, and he was like, I'm really excited to just be down the road from Athens because I already have my support structure in place. Like I've already got a nutritionist. I've already got a recovery guy. I've already got
That's awesome.
X, Y, and Z. And so I don't have to go find new, but like we're talking a junior coming out of college. That's crazy. That's rare stuff that you usually get from a guy going into like year 4 in the league, where it's like, all right, now I'm getting a little bit older. I'm starting to learn what it means to take care of your body. He's already there. And, like I just heard somebody recently was telling me he's one of those guys where like in the biggest moments, he wants the ball. Yeah. And that's like, I think he could end up being an amazing pick for this franchise. And he's already close with Drake London, from their time back at USC. So there's already a familiarity, like you mentioned with Avieon and AJ. Zachariah is coming in already with a connection inside of the locker room, inside of his position room. So I really like kind of what the Falcons did on day 2, pairing some of those players together.
I love it. And I'm all about the flashy players, the DBs, the receivers, but I feel like building a team inside out is the best way to build a team that will last. The trenches, or as close as you can get to the trenches. And the next pick, our guy Kendall Daniels, he is not quite the trenches, but he's a guy who was a safety, then moved into a hybrid linebacker safety role. They had like 293 tackles, 31 TFL, 7.5 sacks. And Falcons actually traded back from 122 to 134 and got an extra 6, which they used for a future pick. I like Kendall Daniels for Oklahoma. I think that replacing Caden Ellis is a hard thing to do, and maybe I'm just too, I don't know, optimistic, or not. Maybe I'm too harsh because I feel like he cannot replace what Caden Daniels. Caden Ellis. Sorry, Caden Ellis. Caden Ellis. Like, what am I thinking?
I've been wanting to call him Caden Daniels.
Yes.
Kendall Daniels, Caden Daniels. So I'm right there with you. For whatever reason, it's these
I was
names.
saying, I was like, that's not right. That's not right. Caden Ellis. Caden Ellis, when he left, I'm like, no. Now, Divine Diablo will make me feel better about Caden Ellis leaving, but I want somebody to replace him. Kendall Daniels is a step in the right direction. Is he going to be a big enough step? Well, definitely not to replace Caden Ellis. That's not what happened. No, not year one. But what are your thoughts on him?
I'm really curious. Like, a player I've been thinking a lot in the aftermath of that selection is Devondre Campbell, because they remind me a lot of each other, and also Isaiah Simmons is an interesting player to think about in all of this as well. Now, obviously, he was a top 10 pick, I believe. Maybe he was 11th, but coming out of Clemson, one of my favorite draft prospects of all time, because I just saw this, like, kind of the way Kyle Hamilton has become. I thought that was going to be Isaiah Simmons, just this like 6'4", super long dude who's built like Julius Peppers, and could run all over the field, sideline to sideline, but move like a safety and could rush the pass. Like, I see flashes of all of that in Kendall Daniels, but by no means am I saying that is what he's going to be. I just see what, like, surely I think Jeff Ulbrich saw in him.
Yeah.
And there's so much to work with here. The fact that he moves so well, like, he is field fast. I was watching some of his tape earlier today just because what I saw initially on draft day from him, I was like, I kind of love this. Like, there are a couple of hits. I think there's one against Michigan where you're like, oh my God, he hits him hard. And he just kind of looks like the Predator out there. Like, he's just big and moves faster than everybody else around him. So I think, there's going to be some development needed here, but he's a 6'5" linebacker who has legitimate, I think, pass rush chops and the background of a safety. So, like, as good as Caden Ellis was, I kind of think it was the loss of Divine Diablo last year for a few games there that they had a harder time navigating. And to me, this is a player much closer to Divine Diablo. And I think you can, like, Caden Ellis is a one-of-one type of player. So he's unique, but you can have successful defenses without his exact skill set.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So they used a really unique skill set, I think, well, the last couple of years, but that doesn't mean that you are forced into playing that type of defense without that type of player in there. They can have flexibility. That's where I'm curious to see if it's Jalen Walker, if it's, one of these new free agents, if it is going to be Kendall Daniels, like where they picked him in the 4th round, maybe give him a shot. But he could be one of my most, like, one of everybody's, like, favorite picks from this draft when all is said and done, just because of how unique and fun of a player I think he is.
Yeah, and I think in Jeff Ulbrich, we trust. That guy is a stud as a defensive coordinator. He's that good because they changed everything, but not Jeff. No, Jeff, you stay there. You and your top-ranked sacking the whole system.
How about that, dude?
Let's keep that there. Wow, I was so upset when they got rid of Raheem, and they were just like, seemingly making a fool. So I was like, why would you get rid of the one guy who finally gave you what we've been trying to get since my John Abraham days? We're like, come on, defense. Come on, defense. We got Matt
They didn't
Ryan. We
just
got
turn it
Julio.
around, dude. They broke the record. That's insane to me.
No,
It was so good.
What's insane? They broke the record, and we still couldn't get a winning season. What's insane to me that they broke the record, and we still were getting like cut through like Swiss cheese in the run game. I was like, how are we so good and still not that good? How is that possible? But if he can keep that part the same, and again, we'll get to James Pierce at the end of this. Keep that part the same and add pieces to it. I think we're in a good place. And Jeff Ulbrich has a great starting point, I think, with Kendall Daniels. The next pick, Antario Thompson, good high upside pick to address D-tackle need. We need some big guys in the middle. But then this guy, this Harold Perkins guy, sixth round pick from LSU, 17 sacks over 4 seasons, used in a variety of ways, and has a lot of upside flow to the radar. I think he dealt with some injuries, but they're saying that he could be the sleeper, Mr. Harold Perkins, because you talk about a dog, you talk about some of the highlights, you talk about a guy who just has that explosive electricity, can be all the place, not only an amazing special teams contributor, if he can bring all that to all phases of special teams, but he's someone that just from what I've seen of him, what I've heard, could be an exciting piece for Jeff Ulbrich, talking about the development that he can give to players. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really think that when you look at what he was as a freshman, right? He was I want to say 5-star prospect coming in to LSU, breaks onto the scene with 7.5 sacks as a true freshman, follows that up with a little bit of a step back year, but still 5.5 sacks, still, looked like a really good athlete. Then his junior year, he suffers a knee injury, right? And so he's able to get back last year for his senior year and had, an okay year again. But essentially the story on Perkins, and the reason I think he was still available there in the 6th round, is that he was kind of this phenom recruit coming in who showed a lot of promise in year 1, and then just has not kind of gotten back to that threshold in any of the years since. And on top of that, had a pretty, a pretty significant injury when you're talking about the scope of injuries that you would sustain. But I'm a big believer, Ovie, in that, like, the year after, like an ACL or anything knee related or an Achilles, you can get back. Like, I think we're seeing guys able to return to the field faster than ever before, and at a level that is probably higher than ever before. But I still don't think that you are, whether it's psychological or it's physical related. Like, I don't think you're who you are until like a kind of another year. I think you need to play on it for a season. And then it's that season after the season when I think you really start to see somebody get back to who they are. So I'm not saying that will happen with Perkins, but I'm saying that is the upshot here, is that you have somebody who was one of the most sought after recruits, is physically like very versatile, has a really well-rounded athletic profile. But I think you're going to see, kind of like with Jalen Walker last year, I really could see Perkins starting out in just like we're using you as an edge rusher. That's all you're going to do for us. We're going to get you hyper trained up in the most important skill. And then we'll figure out what to do with you moving forward. But in year 1, like that's somebody I could definitely see almost backing up Jalen, like when he needs to move around or something like that.
Let them dogs hunt, man. I love it. Rounding it out, we got some offensive tackle help with Ethan Onian, Ohio State. 6'6", 333 pounds. I love the size, and our O-line coach has been. You talk to anyone in the league, they say Bill Callahan is somebody who works magic. He's somebody who is highly respected and get the offensive linemen to do things, to move in ways, to work in coordination that other O-line coaches can't do. So just like Ulbrich and Bill Callahan, we trust. Getting a guy like that, I feel like, gives us a great chance to give us much needed depth, especially after my man Caleb McGarry decided to retire. We need to protect two quarterbacks that some would call fragile, or could be seen as, looked at as fragile. I like the pick. I think high upside. I mean, he could be anything, but hopefully he's great for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of size. People have mentioned he would be a good candidate to move inside to guard. I don't know if that's going to be the Falcons' plan for him, but that's just kind of like what a lot of the scouting profiles said. He was at Rice for 4 years before transferring to Ohio State. I don't believe he played a lot at Ohio State, if at all, but he played both right and left tackle at Rice. So there's some flexibility in terms of which side you could use him on. But by and large, like when you get to 7th round offensive or defensive line, or really any position for that matter, I got to kind of see them out there on the field first to really be able to give a big vote one way or the other as to their long-term prospects here in the league. But I will say I love Onianwa. Like, that's a fun just name to say. It rolls
almost as fun as Rook or Rororo, but they got rid of my boy Rook and did a trade that seemed like a parallel.
I know
move.
they did.
We'll go into. I mean, it is what it is. Getting out of here. Two last things, man. One thing, and it's grinding my gears a little bit. I have been wondering, hoping that because Raheem didn't like the whole fullback thing, obviously, because he got rid of Keith Smith, maybe, just maybe, they'll bring a fullback in to come and play for the Falcons and give Bijan someone to run behind. And so they're talking about this guy, Brandon Frazier, one of the undrafted free agents, one of many undrafted free agents, as a blocking specialist and to add tight end depth. They're saying he could be an H-back and be like Charlie Werner. I'm like, okay, that's a great, backup to a fullback, but why don't you just get a fullback? What is it about somebody clearing the way, blocking, being the tip of the spear that coaches don't like these days? Like, I think half of the league doesn't even have fullbacks. They have these hybrids, and it's killing me. So all this Brandon Frazier H-back talk, I mean, good luck to Brandon Frazier. Hope he does wonderful, but I don't get it. What am I missing, Will? Is it just like, I mean, you're in the Falcons locker room. You know things that I don't know. Do they just do they not like me? Is it me? Is it like that Ovie guy? Anything that's close to Ovie is not what we want to be. That can't be it because the Falcons love me.
Well, no, I mean, let me tell you, Ovie, when Tommy Reese and I sit down for our weekly offensive game plan meetings, we always start every single session with a little kind of 5-minute segment I like to call, what will piss Ovie off. And we just sit there and we talk about all of the
I knew it.
All of the John Coons, all of the, Justin Griffins, all of the Ovie Mughellis who were so glad they're, gone away from us,
I knew it.
No, I mean, I would say like a real answer would probably just be optionality, right? Everybody's obsessed nowadays with like, maybe you guys need to be a number in the four. I know you count as a back, but like if everybody's just like 12, 13 personnel, like how do we get you some real
21 personnel, 22 personnel? Like
I know, but that's just not as valuable for whatever reason. Or if they want it to be two weapons.
Tailbacks,
there, right?
yeah,
like that's what it is. But I think these things are cyclical, and I think we're slowly starting to see a reinvestment in the ground game, in more importantly, kind of like a physical brand of football. Yeah. In fact, I was thinking the other day, like out of the blue, because I'm insane like this, but like everybody is trying to gain a mental edge. There is something though to be said for like the old warrior mentality of like, let's just go break their bodies in front of us for a second. So what would stop a team from first, second quarter, we have a designated just like freaking plow horse in the backfield who is 280 pounds and knows how to run the ball. And we're just running him down the middle 8 times. So by the fourth quarter, not only is, the linebacker, they're tired and whatnot, but like they kind of physically hurt. I'm ready for that. Let's get inventive. So bring the fullback back and make him a pure battering ram. I love it.
I'm a fan. And before we get out of here, the question.
I'll bring it up to Tommy.
Before we get out of here, man, the question that I really, 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 really would love to know, and I doubt you know, but I'd love to get your opinion, is everyone's saying, "Oh, the Falcons don't have a first round pick. We have a first round pick." We did have one, kind of. It's James Pierce Jr., the guy who helped us do things that have never been done before. I don't know the official stats, but did he break the rookie sack record last year, or tied it, or was close to it?
I Bleav he was still underneath Claude Humphrey, but the team officially recognizes sacks from 1986 or something like that. So it's like the official record, yes, but it is kind of like second most in league history.
He's a baller. I mean, he's a dog. He's what we've been looking for the whole time, and then he goes and does like some really stupid stuff. But supposedly, somebody worked some magic, and they said that all the charges have been dropped. Or if he goes to counseling, and things might be clear. And Falcons fans, I remember like people were texting me and high fiving and calling me, and I'm like, all right, this is great, but the NFL still can suspend this man for a long amount of time. It could be 3 games. It could be half the season. It could be 6-9 months. We don't know what it's going to be, but we're not out the clear. We've seen all types of things from the NFL where they give slap on the wrist to where they'll give our boy, was it Calvin Ridley, a whole season because of gambling. So no one knows what's going to happen. What does Will McFadden think is going to happen? Because I would like to have James Pierce back. I also know that we probably won't be looked at favorably in history. And we have set a precedent that where you can do stuff like that and be like, no problem, no repercussions. It's okay. Get back on the field and play because you're good. So there has to be some sort of happy medium. I'm not the judge, jury, or executioner. Neither are you. But what do you think is going to happen?
Well, to take you back to kind of when all of this started, I Bleav I was on paternity leave.
Oh,
Ovie.
Congratulations. So, how old's the baby now?
6 months.
Oh, yeah. Yay, baby Will. All right.
2 days ago, 6 months.
Is the baby's name Baby Will? No?
Cooper.
Cooper, Baby Will McFadden. I love it.
There you go. So I have officially kind of always taken this stance, like, I don't have to care about this. Like it is being handled without me. I don't have to, like, when I heard about it, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to hold my baby. It's all good. It's just kind of like we all get this one get out of jail free. I feel like in our lives, careers, this is gonna be kind of mine.
Smart man.
To answer your question though, like where things stand now, the Falcons, James Pierce's party agreed that he would not be there during the voluntary workouts. I think that at this point in time, it is smart for the team to kind of like focus on the guys they know, are going to be here. That being said, though, like they are monitoring everything that is happening. And the last we heard was just that it was status quo. So that basically is he is figuring out his legal side of things. I think he will go through that. Kind of like on his end of things as the Falcons are here getting prepared the way that they normally would. And then as it pertains to anything that would come from the league, like I don't know anything on that front.
I mean, you're not taking meetings with Roger Dell. You and Roger don't have those weekly meetings where you
no, I'm not there yet.
Talk about, okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to get on his calendar. He's going to get back to me at some point.
Good luck.
But
good luck with that.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. All right. Well, that's great stuff. And Will, we've gone way over time, taking up your time on a weeknight where you got to take care of your kids and you got to do your big fancy job with the Falcons. Love to have you back on later. I'll see. We might just have 3 of us with Mike T on. But this has been awesome. This has been like back into like the pandemic. I remember I got the phone call. They said, "Hey, you want to do a podcast with this Will McFadden?" I'm like, "Who's Will McFadden? Let me Google." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he's so talented and amazing. I'd love to work with him." But I said immediately, I definitely didn't say like I can't. Who? I definitely didn't say. I said he's so talented and amazing. I'm so excited. Is what I said.
I remember our like first phone call together, and I was I was probably just like going a mile a minute, like just
Yeah.
shooting a billion ideas at you, as
Right.
I often do. And yeah, I just appreciate you for not hanging up right then and there. Because yeah, dude, it was so much fun. I feel like we stepped right back into this, picked it
Yeah.
right up where we
It's
left
like
off.
it's
I mean,
the pandemic all over again. Like, just sitting there, can't go anywhere, forced to do a podcast and loving it for the most part. So this is cool, man.
absolutely.
Well, you're awesome. Falcons fans, you guys are awesome. Y'all Bleav in Falcons. You've been here since Will McFadden. You've been here since Ovie Mughelli, since Ovie and Mike. Keep on supporting us. Like, subscribe, and give us some comments, and we'll respond. And we'll talk to y'all soon.